Hello everyone, CMeeCraft here, and welcome back to A Light in the Dark. Last episode we played again through day 1, now it's on to day 2. We're going on a similar route as the previous one, but I'm trying to make some, minor tweaks that maybe will get things ending slightly better for us. Or maybe this will all fail and be completely pointless. I don't know, we'll see. Let's go, next. Day 2, morning. So cold. Let's look at our notes real quick. I couldn't rest with this cold weather if only there was something warm. Also, we've got maybe it was discrimination from her being impoverished that led her to such deep-seated animosity. Okay. I didn't feel better after I slept. Instead, I felt even more tired. I was hoping to find a chance to escape when she fell asleep. However, time passed, and she didn't show any sign of closing her eyes. I couldn't help but fall asleep first. Last thing I saw was her lighting another cigarette. My body must have really been exhausted if I could fall asleep like that. I opened my eyes in a daze and saw an unfamiliar face right before me. Ah! I jumped back reflexively and tried to shield my chest with my hands. Yet my tied-up hands reminded me of my kidnapped status. Regardless, I was shocked by this new face. I stared at the new girl before me. First thing I noticed were her beautiful eyes, clean, light brown like pieces of amber. Her thick coat and dark red sweater looked pretty old. Her small body suggested she might have been in junior high, so she was clearly unfit for a place like this. I didn't know who she was, but I easily noticed the knife in her hand. She stared straight at me, but showed no signs of speaking, which somehow emitted an inexplicable pressure. Who are you? I tried to ask her, but she refused to answer and shook her head. She was on guard of my every movement with pressed lips. There was no sign of the kidnapper around. There were only the two of us in the room. In other words, a good chance to escape. I'll ask for help. Reach out. Can you untie the rope for me? Head shaking. Seeing she had no intention to help, I tried to untie it myself. Her expression vividly changed upon noticing my attempt. Don't move. As expected. Only another victim, or the accomplice, would be here. If she wasn't tied up and instead held a knife, then she must be my guard. The quiet girl and the antisocial one. What a bizarre combo. This sort of plot in a movie would have easily triggered the haters. It appeared reality could be more ridiculous than fiction. I breathed out and couldn't help but laugh out of stress. Alright, so I'm sure we've got all sorts of notes on her now. Yep. The young girl looked emaciated. She was most likely no older than the average junior high school student. With her head hung down, she looked a little scared and didn't want to talk. Okay. I had no idea why they would pick her as a partner. I could defeat someone of her size even if she held a knife. Assuming she was alone. Is there anyone else here? There'd be no progress if I didn't strike up a conversation. I decided to speak proactively after giving it some thoughts. She stared at me tightly with no response, making one wonder if she understood. You were asked to guard me, right? Still no response. Can you untie the rope for me? I can't feel them now, and if it stays like this... She shook her head, finally speaking after being silent for a while. Big Sis told me not to listen to you. Her voice was light and quiet, like smoke in the air. I finally heard her speak, yet it was frustrating to hear something so pointless. Who is this Big Sis? Yeah. And we know the answer, but we'll ask. Who is this Big Sis? Is she the one with long hair that kidnapped me? Where is she? I need to talk to her. After continuously asking her questions, I had gotten not a single answer. Perhaps I was asking them too eagerly and that made her cautious? She looked at me suspiciously, but refused to say anything. I told myself to hang in there. I had to stay calm in these situations. I took a deep breath to suppress my unease. I tried to smile to lighten up the mood. Do you have anything to eat? Don't tell me your sister doesn't allow that either. I had no strength with an empty stomach. I hadn't eaten anything since yesterday, and my stamina went out faster in this cold weather. I had to save my energy for my chance. This was a war of attrition. Either that she'd let me go, or I'd give up first. Answering with action, she put a bowl on the ground, grabbed the water bottle with difficulty, and carefully poured some into it. Here. She handed me the bowl, and then brought me a pack of crackers. Worrying I might escape, she never moved her gaze away from me. The hand grasping the knife never loosened up. Observing her actions quietly, I hoped to read her thoughts, but couldn't discern anything except stress. I drank the water with much effort, spilling quite a bit on my clothes due to my tied-up hands. My clothes were wet again after finally getting dried. The hard crackers tasted like pure flour alone, hard to swallow even with water. I knew it was not the time to be picky. I had to cherish any opportunity to replenish my strength. Noticing her conflicting gaze, I asked, "What's wrong?" Big Sis is not a bad person. She lets you go when she gets the money. So please don't move. Reassure, I will cooperate. We want to get in her head, I think. Of the two of them, she's probably the easily manipulated one. Okay? And the real question is, with her, do we manipulate her by being friendly and kind of trying to relate to her and get her to see things from our perspective? Or do we manipulate her by trying to plant a seed of doubt in her mind as to her sister's benevolence? That's an interesting question. Although, generally speaking, people will often just kind of shut out any information that is presented to them that doesn't conform with their current viewpoint. This is, of course, easily seen in politics. So, I think, and especially because it would seem a big part of her identity is her trust in her sister. If we just go in and try to attack that, then she probably just completely shuts down with with listening to us. You know, she just shuts it out. So I think that we go in, we be kind of nicer, more understanding, try to get her to see things from our perspective, try to get her to sympathize with us, not necessarily just turn on her sister. Anyways, yes, I will cooperate. At least for now. I didn't finish the full sentence, but she already looked happy and clearly dropped her guard a little. On that note, she didn't seem to have the same level of animosity as the other girl. Maybe I could convince her. She believed her sister would let me go once she got the money. If only things would go so smoothly. Organizing the information I could gather, I started to plan my next steps. Would the teacher notice something was wrong if I hadn't gone to the cram school for 2 days? Unlikely, considering how often I skipped it. Unless it lasted long enough, but even in the worst case scenario, they would only contact the parents instead of the police. I started to regret not having more friends who would notice me going missing. Expecting her to let me go upon getting the ransom. Would it really be that easy? Remembering that vague smile, I didn't feel very assured. The girl was squatting next to the wall and stared at me while hugging her legs. There was no curiosity in her eyes, as though nothing interested her here. She was just guarding this place at someone else's behest. Big sis, huh? Considering their relationship, it was unlikely she planned the kidnapping. She was most likely just an accomplice following orders. Unlike some stereotypical bad girls who smoked or dyed their hair, she looked like a well-behaved but shy kid. At least, if I'd met her in this situation. So who was planning all this? Somehow I felt things weren't as simple as they seemed. There were too many points of suspicion if they were the ones planning this. Even carrying me here should have been problematic for them. Also, the person she was contacting concerned me as well. Hey. I called out to catch her attention and tried to start a conversation. She was younger than the kidnapper yesterday, and with much less animosity, there might have been a chance to convince her. How did you get my information? You're a student, right? Do you know what you're doing? She stared at me with no change of expression. I wasn't sure if she heard me. This might be even more troublesome than the other one. I could at least guess my kidnapper's thoughts if there was some sort of conversation. I was only wasting my time here at this rate. I don't know what she told you, but this is kidnapping. I tried to sound more threatening to make her talk. There would be punishment even if you are underage, and that would involve your family too. Do you know that? Just using you. They might blame this all on you later. Big sis would not do that. She abruptly interrupted me. How can you be so sure? Just because she was kind to you? Do you think that's not her. Just because she was kind to you? Do you think she would still be on your side by then? Finally making her talk, I tried to push forward. Has she told you her plan after getting the money? You really know her? Big sis would not do such a thing. You were the one who doesn't know her. She interrupted me loudly and stood up all of a sudden, with her little body shaking. I didn't expect such a big reaction. Perhaps her relationship with her big sis was closer than I thought. Of course, I don't know your big sis. I stopped for a few seconds and stared at her coldly. All I know is that she is a kidnapper. That's all that matters. Liar! You don't know why big sis... She raised the knife and yelled at me with her chest heaving up and down, but swallowed the word before the key part. Why then? Big sis is just... Facing my question, she lowered her gaze. Worrying she might get too agitated and really harm me, I decided to change the subject despite my desire to continue. Anyway, I don't get it, but you better give it some thought. I coldly ended the conversation, leaving her staring at me hesitantly. No matter how much faith one had in others, no one would stay still after hearing those words. I wasn't sure how effective that was. I could only wait and see. It's not like that. Not able to retort, she squatted next to the wall in depression, mumbling with her head in her arms. Seeing her almost about to cry made me feel a little uncomfortable, but I would do anything as long as I could get out of here. Besides, they're the ones at fault here. There should be no sense of guilt involved, even if I hurt them a little. Let's try to strike up a conversation with her. Okay, first I want to observe some stuff. Is there any new observables? There's these books on the ground, we may want to take a look at those. The items on the table are no longer there, but they weren't observable anyways. Those books appear to be the only new observable things. Before we dedicate to that, though, I do want to check and see what we have for a conversation. We have 4 conversation options. Okay. I say we start off with the books. There's quite a variety of books, ranging from magazines, reference books, to even cookbooks. Only things they share in common is their poor condition. A theory of justice, the Lucifer effect, quite a few things I've never heard of. There might be some used books picked up from somewhere. You really like reading, don't you? Yes. She had been reading at the corner for a few days now. She had changed to another book after finishing one and never get bored throughout the afternoon. I feel like that would make more sense on like day 3 or 4, or not on day 2. Okay. I'd lose my patience if I had to read for more than an hour or two. The book selection was pretty diverse, ranging from novels to magazines to travel guides. It didn't appear there was any real selective process. Where did you get all these books? You borrowed them? It was unlikely for them to buy books if they had to kidnap me for money. However, there was no library barcode on them either, on top of the fact that they looked quite old. Big Sis gave them to me. She answered without raising her head and kept flipping through the magazine. Big Sis wants me to read more so people won't look down on me in the future. Right. That explanation was unexpected. I thought she would say educated people were all liars and rich people were all demons. All the talk about how damnable the rich people are, yet she still wanted to be like them. So, did your sis go to school? Only till middle school. She raised her head with a rare smile on her face. She might not look like it, but Big Sis had good grades. For real? Good grades. I tried to imagine the girl in a school uniform, and I just couldn't picture her as someone with good grades. I think that was a really good thing to have done. Let's take a look at. Is there any of these new? It said something was updated. What's this book thing? No, that's just the backlog. Okay. Okay. Let's chat with the young girl. Okay, so we have 4 questions here, or 4 topics here. Who are you? Why me? How long have you known Big Sis? Or so cold? Ha. I feel like the way she's been talking, kind of to me thinks she wants me to see things from their perspective. So I'm thinking, why me? So cold might also be a good one, because it specifically mentions in our notes here that I couldn't rest with the cold weather if only there was something warm, so we might want to try to get us to warm up a bit. I say we start off with this. How long have you known Big Sis? Oh, that one's good too. I feel like that also. Yeah, how long have you known Big Sis? we'll go for that one. I forget if we did this last time or not. How long have you known Big Sis? She stared at me cautiously as though not feeling too happy about me saying bad things about her big sis. Ah, you really like your sister, huh? I sighed heavily. The depression in my chest didn't lessen one bit. Yeah. She nodded without a second thought. She was only this certain when it involved her big sis. Sounds like whatever. What if you're being manipulated? Because whatever is just so dismissive. What if you're being manipulated? And then also, potentially doing these things that, these options that kind of trigger her a bit by, bringing into question Big Sis could be the types of situations that make her kind of fly off the handle a bit and reveal something that she wasn't supposed to as well. I don't want to hear that. She awkwardly turned her head to hide it behind the book and refused to talk to me further. Note updated. She was unexpectedly loyal to her big sis. Okay. Chat. If I don't pick... I'm worried that if I don't pick So Cold, maybe I end up dying or something from being too cold. Forget what we did last time here. I want to go for why me here. Is it anything beyond just money? Is there a personal connection? Why me? What do you mean? There are many rich people out there to kidnap. Why me in particular? Wouldn't Little Kid be an easier target? I still don't know why they picked me. If I could figure that out, maybe I could guess the culprit's identity. I don't know. Big Sis just asked me to guard you. Let's not mock her. Let's inquire further. So this was all planned by that Big Sis? No, it was Mr. Ken. Oh, okay. She tried to defend her big sis, but shut up immediately upon realizing she shouldn't say anything more. Mr. Ken. This is legitimate information. I had no recollection of that name. Did they really pick a target at random? Or was there another culprit and that guy was only their point of contact? That Mr. Ken you just mentioned. I don't know. I tried to trick her, but failed. Hanging her head, she answered unhappily. Her voice was as cold as her gaze. That could be useful information. Like, very useful information, potentially. So someone named Mr. Ken was involved. Perhaps he was the one really behind this. Okay. Oh man. This seems to be going well. In prison's life was surprisingly boring. I couldn't do anything with tied hands, and the only person I could talk to was as silent as a rock in one corner of the room. I don't know, I think we've gotten some pretty good stuff out of her today, so far. There was no phone, no TV, no internet. The usually insufficient 24 hours now felt way too long. Yet she didn't look one bit bored. Flipping through a book from God knows where, she observed my movements from time to time. I ate the same crackers for breakfast and lunch. I also went to the bathroom once, hoping to find a chance to escape. She stood outside with a knife when I was in there, neither rushing me nor leaving. Having found nothing useful there, I left post-haste. Don't you eat anything more normal, or do you just love crackers? She ate the same thing as me. They were cheap and tasteless. No matter how long you chewed, they only served to make your mouth dry. Unless you won a year's worth of them from a lottery, there really was no reason to keep eating them. I started the conversation out of boredom. She raised her head thoughtfully. This is very cheap and lasts long. Aren't you worried about malnutrition? There's nothing but starch, let alone fiber or vitamins. Pretty ironic for something called a nutrition biscuit. Oh. Showing no concern about balancing her diet, she didn't even raise her head, but just replied nonchalantly. Hanging out with her this whole morning, she didn't give any sort of proper response except when it was about her big sis. Pretty incredible, I would say. Strangely enough, it wasn't like she cared about this big sis that much. It was more like she just didn't care about anything else. Did you figure something out with my dad? No idea. Her answer, without hesitation, didn't appear to be a lie. However, it did trigger my curiosity. She didn't even care about the status of the ransom. No matter who you are, you must care about something, whether it be family, work, or some dream. Yet she had none of that. There wasn't even some sort of animosity against me. Only caution at most. Try to talk. Why do you like your, big sis? Hesitating a little, I decided to follow how she addressed the person in question. Because big sis took good care of me. That's it? She said no more despite the pause. Then I realized she had finished. She frowned as she stared at me. You were willing to do all this just because she took good care of you. That's quite the burden. You must be easy to please. What the hell? Even if you treated her nicely, she might even kill someone for you. Or if you... I don't know where the even came from. If you treated her nicely, she might even kill someone for you. Kidnapping is by no means a light crime in any country. You could easily end up with more than 10 years of jail time. I finally understood why gangs like to recruit students around that age. Anyone nice to you must be a friend, and one would do anything for a friend. Unable to retort, a bit of confusion flew through her eyes. Because Big Sis is nice, so I want to help her. Is that strange? She said quietly. It depends on what you're helping her with. It was a simple question, but with an implication. Maybe no one took care of her except this Big Sis? Many things you take for granted aren't the case for us at all. Remembering her words from yesterday, I realized they might have some real difficulties. Now I just feel... sympathy. I say we go for sympathy here. Especially since, with the introduction of this Mr. Ken, they might just be pawns in someone else's game. Anyways, maybe they had their reasons to do this. As she said, the world is not fair. If only I could convince them to let me go. Day 2, noon. Okay, let's just note real quick. There's a new note, right? Was there a new note? Maybe it was under situation. No. What time? Based on calendar. Needs to escape. Only exits. Converse. Warm. Okay. Within the silence, a sudden phone vibration sounded extra sharp. Unlike yesterday, the girl picked up the phone immediately. Hello? Perhaps she was asked about me as the girl glanced at me when answering the call. Yes, it's alright. I had no idea what the conversation entailed and could only guess from her words. Okay. It was the kidnapper from yesterday. Where could she be if she needed to call to confirm my situation? Did she already contact someone to get the ransom? Or maybe they had other bases? He's next to me. Alright. The girl handed me the phone. I raised my tied hands and then shrugged helplessly. She hesitated a little, then put the phone next to my ear. At this distance, maybe I could bump into her by surprise? Could probably still overwhelm her even with my tied up limbs. Before making up my mind, I heard a voice from the phone. Hello? The cold voice sounded a little different through the phone. The noisy background seemed to indicate she was somewhere outside. Maybe a restaurant or a karaoke place. Hey, can you hear me? Yep. I see you're still kicking. Sorry to disappoint. She didn't seem pleased with my greeting. Maybe she was expecting me to go into a panic and shiver in the corner. The more she wanted to see me in fear, the more I wanted to act indifferently. It wasn't really part of any sort of strategy, just some pointless show of resistance. You should know this by now, but I'll repeat it again. Don't try to run. Don't ask questions. I'm watching you, and if anything happens... She paused and left threats. Even if I agreed to return you, I wouldn't be breaking the deal if you lost an arm or a leg. Got it. I didn't even need to guess what she wanted to say. Lose an arm or leg, throw me off a cliff, blah blah blah. Hell, even agreeing to return me alive was already saintly of her. Most wouldn't even intend to keep the hostage alive. Hostages usually got silenced after the kidnappers got the money and were ready to run. I didn't plan to believe her words from the beginning. If I played too nice, I might get killed without knowing how. Is my dad paying? None of your business. Just worry about yourself. But... bullshit. Why would I ask about that if not out of concern for my own safety? I wanted to ask more, but got stopped mercilessly. I'm heading back now, so stay put. That's all. Hey, wait! Before I could say anything, she hung up. Hanging up right after she said whatever she wanted. What a woman. Hearing the empty sounds of a disconnected call, I knew being mad would make no difference. What did Big Sis say? She approached me once the call ended and asked me worriedly. Within the short period of time, I wondered what to say. Answer honestly. She told me to stay put and she would be home soon. Again, manipulating I think would probably backfire. Oh. Not showing any emotion, she simply took away the phone and sat back in the corner. I remembered how the big sis sat next to the window, smoking seemingly in thought and also in patience. In contrast, this girl was way too quiet, and she just sat there holding her legs together. How much did she really know about the kidnapping? She didn't even know me, nor what to do. Her big sis asked her to guard me, so she guarded. Her big sis asked her not to talk to me, so she didn't talk to me. Whether it was about the outcome or the reward, she was clueless and didn't care. She just had faith in her big sis. Such blind trust was not far from stupidity. I almost felt bad for her. Time felt much longer when you were waiting. I even sighed in relief when I heard a sound approaching. A motorcycle engine was shut down not too far away, and the closing footsteps echoed through the staircase. The noise was empty, but had a certain rhythm. There was no elevator. Was this an apartment or some privately owned house? I could only hear one person's steps, so there was no one coming back with her. I'm back. The one who walked in was the same girl from the day before, aka the Big Sis. Same overcoat as yesterday, and her expression hadn't changed either. Welcome home. Unsure of what was going on in my mind, she looked at me suspiciously and handed the plastic bag in her hand to the other girl. Bento, eat it while it's still hot. Big Sis. The little girl whispered something into her ear. I couldn't tell the context from the distance. The girl nodded, staring dead straight at me. Once the girl finished, she moved towards me with the knife. She tried to check the rope, even pulling it a few times to make sure it was tight enough. I told you I didn't do anything. If I could get out of this, do you think I'd stay here?
Quiet.
Ask her then. She threw the other girl a questioning glance, which was answered by a sad nod. Her head wasn't even turned. It seems like the bento was much more attractive than the situation here. She snorted unhappily, but couldn't find a reason to act up. She then started to laugh scornfully.
Whatever. I doubt you have the balls to try anything. You have a rich mommy and daddy arranging everything for you, from school to work. You probably even have a maid cleaning the house. You can't do shit on your own, can you?
Here we go again. This ridiculous resentment was not just aimed at me, but anyone with a better life than her. What was the point of hating all these people? Would it change anything about her life? Wouldn't it be more practical? Wouldn't it be more practical if she tried to change something instead of hating? Where did you go? She probably would only be more pissed off if this continued, so I decided to change the subject to avoid trouble.
Oh, wouldn't you like to know?
Not cutting me any slack, she raised her eyebrow provocatively. I sighed helplessly. This was really going nowhere if she kept up with this attitude.
You start eating, don't mind me.
Only after she spoke did I notice the little girl hadn't moved her chopsticks despite having the bento opened, as though waiting for her big sis to start the meal together.
I had dinner already. Don't need to leave me anything.
She loosened her furrowed brow and patted the little girl's head kindly. There's even a smile on her face. The little girl nodded obediently. Even an outsider like me could tell how close they were. If anything, I couldn't even believe she still had such an expression in her. More questions popped into my mind upon seeing their interaction. With such familiarity, what was their relationship? The sound of water flowing in the bathroom reminded me that I hadn't taken a shower for 2 days. Still felt uncomfortable even though I'd barely moved or sweat. I was willing to give up half of my possessions for a hot shower and pay with my future income for a cup of cocoa as a bonus. The little girl was clearly starved and was quietly and happily eating the rice. She paid no attention to me. Her figure looked extra weak and small from here. I still couldn't believe she could be a kidnapper. What kind of family would allow her to do such a thing? Whatever. Considering my own family, I had no right to criticize others.
Phew.
The girl left the bathroom holding her hair. She only washed her face since there was no hot water. The light shone on her face, rendering her pale complexion a little more rosy, yet the expression on her face was still cold as ice.
What are you looking at?
She seemingly noticed my gaze, and asked me with an eyebrow raised. Nothing, just that I had taken a shower for a while.
You think this is some fancy hotel, rich boy?
I would have called customer service given such quality.
Keep flapping your mouth, I dare you.
Never mind. She snorted with contempt and walked over to the window to lightly shake the little girl's shoulder. The little girl had finished her bento and was falling asleep against the wall despite her best efforts to stay awake.
Go to bed to sleep. You'll catch a cold like this.
She nodded sleepily and climbed into the bed obediently, not minding all the dust on it. She grabbed the bedsheet and lay down. Maybe she was really tired. It didn't take long for her to fall asleep completely, leaving only the sound of steady breathing in the room. The girl walked to the window, opened her bento, and started to eat it quickly. Nothing for me. Tormented by the scent of food, I couldn't help but ask.
You can just eat the crackers.
How about just a cup of coffee? I have money in my bag. Rather than a hot dinner, I preferred some hot coffee to relax my nerves.
You done yet?
I learned that protesting wouldn't help, and now the headache was even more unbearable without coffee. She looked troubled and was just eating absent-mindedly. She kept poking the drumstick for what seemed to be no reason. Please stop playing with the food even if you're not in the mood. I can have it if you have no appetite. Hunger plus anger made me give the suggestion.
I'm thinking about how to keep your mouth shut.
I doubt me doing that would solve your problems. Though noticing her darkened look, I decided to keep my mouth shut. Piecing all the hints together, along with her reaction, I could only come up with one conclusion. You couldn't reach my dad.
How did... You trying to trick me?
Realizing she slipped without thinking, her face instantly darkened again. I didn't mean anything, I just thought... Fearing she might lose her temper, I immediately tried to pass off the responsibility. However, she stood up suddenly.
Looking down on me? Find me easy to fool, huh?
She bit her lip, staring at me with utter hatred, a voice colder than ever. Not at all. I'm just guessing randomly. There must be something wrong, and I doubt the police have found out this soon. Look, The reaction far surpassed my expectations. I tried to explain myself, but that didn't stop her walking towards me. She walked closer and closer with the knife, eyes flashing with hysteria. Was she really going to do this? Now I was really fearing for my life for the first time ever. She looked like a cornered animal that would try anything in desperation. Don't struggle. You don't want to get into a fight with a knife. That's just a universal principle. Before she got the money, she wouldn't kill me. If resistance was futile, I decided to close my eyes and grit my teeth, hoping she wouldn't continue further. I smelled a faint scent and felt her hair on my cheek, plus rapid breathing. What's that smell? Unbelievably, at this moment of life or death, I was thinking about something this insignificant. Against my skin was a cold sensation. The blade was right before my chest. A simple push would bury it deep into my flesh. I opened my eyes and saw a look of pure ice right before me.
Don't lie to me.
The voice next to my ear was light but clear.
I will say it one more time. Don't lie to me. If you look down on me, you will regret it.
Her voice was calm and the knife steady. She didn't clarify how she would do it, nor did she ask for my confirmation, yet this threat was more powerful than anything prior. All my words got stuck in my throat, my body was paralyzed to the point I couldn't even blink. She meant it. I could read the emotion in her eyes. That was pure murderous intent. No question about it, she would do it if I did it again.
I'm done with folks like you. Don't think I can't. Worst case scenario, I will just die with you. No biggie for someone like me.
She finished her sentence, moving the knife away, and walked back to the window. I just lay there on the ground motionless. My tense body was still trembling. At that moment I confirmed something. They could end me any time. The notion of her not touching me before getting the money, or having some backup plan, meant nothing to them. At this point, she had nothing to lose. I took a deep breath as I faced the window. That's how I calmed myself down since childhood. What I needed to do stayed the same. Day 2, night. The desk lamp drew a long shadow from her. What had just occurred still creeped me out a little. However, since she hadn't contacted my family, there was still a chance. I breathed in deeply, gathered the courage, and talked to her. I have a proposal. She continued to look out the window motionlessly, showing no interest in my question. Let me go now, and all my money is yours. It might not be much, but still 70 to 80,000 NTD in total. And I swear I will tell no one. Knowing she must be listening, I kept going on my own, even without a response. You can escort me to the ATM if you want to, or do it in any manner you prefer. You would keep this on the down low, right? Why so insistent? I used my last bit of strength to convince her. Considering her position, I tried to propose something that would be mutually beneficial. I believed no one would risk his or her own life until there was no other choice. Now is still not too late. Think about it. The wait was so long I thought there was no response, but she finally turned her head. There's no rage in her eyes, only exhaustion.
Why should I believe you? Why should I believe that you will hand me the money and never call the cops?
I couldn't answer out of hesitation. It was hard to create a situation where both sides could trust each other in the first place. I wouldn't agree to such terms if the roles were reversed. I'd be the one in control once I got my freedom. She wouldn't be able to do anything to stop me from calling the cops.
No answer? Then shut the F up and stop wasting my time.
Rather than handing her fate to me, she'd rather believe in herself. All my gathered confidence grew fainter and fainter, and I was out of ideas temporarily. But if this kept going, then what can I do to win your trust? I asked with my last ounce of courage. Matching her stare, I could see the fragility under her cold look. She grew silent and started to ponder my question. Then a bitter smile appeared on her face.
I don't know.
She turned to the window and quietly said it again.
I don't know.
The mood is heavy. I must try to do something. Okay, so what chatting options do we have? We've got older girl. What's your relationship? How much does she know about the kidnapping? Do you really think you can get out of this unscathed? We also have observation. Okay. We've got the box. We've got a phone. And I think cigarettes. A pack of cigarettes. And the question is, which... Okay. Anything else new? I'm not sure if closed window is any different from open window. Not too compelling for me personally. Okay. So I'd say those three things on the table are the three things of interest. Okay. And then chat. We're going to have to make some sacrifices here because we can't observe all of them. Yeah. So we've got, what's your relationship? How much does she know about the kidnapping? Do you really think you can get out of this unscathed? First of all, I like the idea of the box. Oh, also we've got notes. She seemed close to the little girl. What was their relationship? I like the idea of what's your relationship? Do you really think you can get out of this unscathed? And the box. The reason for the box over the phone and the cigarettes is theoretically I think these things should show up again. We'll be able to observe them again because they're part of the normal routine. The box, not necessarily. And the reason I'm thinking the box is the box could potentially... No! I didn't want to rest. Can I go back? What's the autosave? No, that's not what I wanted to do. At all. I'm not even seeing save settings here. Oh. Okay, well, we rested. Let's observe the box. The box could potentially give us some information as to where exactly she was today. Which might maybe give us more information on this Mr. Ken. I can't use the bento box and chopsticks as a weapon, and they only make me feel even more hungry. That's it? Okay, this is not going well. Chat. What's the more important of these two? I wanted to ask them both, but I can only ask one now. If we're going to try to win sympathy, if that's what we're trying to learn things, I don't think we go, do you think you can get out of this unscathed? We go for what's your relationship. So, what is your relationship? They interacted like siblings, yet their ages weren't even close.
I'm not in the mood to chat. You better stay quiet too.
You can stay quiet, I guess. I forgot that this is what happened. Oh. I shut up after hearing displeasure in her voice. After what just happened, I had no nerve to make her mad again. I forgot that's where that one led. Maybe we should have observed some other things. Or not rested. I feel like that could have gone much better. It was getting late, and I still couldn't find a way to change the situation. Instead of escaping or waiting for ransom, the safest option was to convince her to let me go. Things could still get resolved without much incident if it wouldn't be this easy once the police got involved. But how? Even though I could tell she had hesitated, I couldn't win her trust. So I had to win her trust first? The sudden vibration broke the silence. She looked at the phone screen, then jolted a little as though being electrocuted. She lowered her eyes and read the message. She raised the corner of her mouth, but didn't appear to be that happy. What is it? I had a bad feeling and instantly asked.
There'll be a call in 10 minutes. Tell your daddy to pay up. Or tell your dad to pay up if he wants to go home.
The unexpected change of events instantly froze my blood. This was way too soon. I was naive to think I still had time to convince her. The moment she reached my family, there was no turning back. The police would start taking action, the family preparing the ransom, and the culprit preparing to escape. What now? What now? I quickly went through all the possibilities in my mind, but couldn't come up with a solution. I must not stop thinking. There must be a way. Time passed second by second, and I had no time to hesitate. It's the money you want, right? Is there really no other way? Out of options, I gave it my all and just yelled at her. Not giving her a chance to contemplate, I continued after a quick pause. Let me go. You can have all the money as proof of my silence about this. Think about it. You really think you can get the money this easily? Are you okay with playing hide and seek for the rest of your life? I couldn't finish my words. Seeing her expression, I realized that was it. Under the nightlight, she looked almost like a dream, too, empty and transparent to be touched. That smile couldn't hide the helplessness and regret in her eyes. Silence and immense sadness.
There's no turning back.
Her voice was calm, surprisingly. There was no anger or accusation, only conscience in that expression. She surrendered to her hopeless life. Concession. Nothing was more convincing than that expression. So even she could express such hopelessness.
There's been no turning back since a long time ago.
The phone vibrated again. Seeing her pick up the phone, I couldn't say anything. I should have known. The moment the phone rang, nay, the very beginning, she had no other choice but this. Under the serene moonlight, the cogwheel started to spin faster. The girl opened the phone. The screen flashed the time. 3 a.m. There was only steady breathing in the room. The boy couldn't resist the desire to sleep after all. Hey. Remembering his words, the determination in his eyes surpassed her expectations. Perhaps he wasn't as useless as she'd thought. There was no regret in her decision. Only a vague note of ironic sadness. Never until this moment had anyone cared what she wanted, trying to convince her not to break the law. No more one should take responsibility for one's life, or don't keep asking someone to help you. There was no return. Either she would get the money and pay the debt, or get arrested instead. The girl raised her head and looked into the starry sky, standing next to the window like a statue. The stars sparkled like her unsettled mind. Finally, she breathed out quietly.
Worst case scenario, I would just die with him.
The quiet voice of the girl evaporated in the room, along with the cigarette smoke. Okay, well that's day 2. Kind of messed up a bit on that last observe chat section there, I think. That could have gone better, but aside from that, I think in general we've learned more so far than we had in the previous attempts. I think we might be on track here, or who knows, maybe not. But I'm looking forward to seeing what day 3 brings us. I wonder, are we getting close to the point where we'll start seeing some legitimate divergence here? I don't know. This is my second time playing the game, so I don't know exactly how it changes, but I'm eager to find out. And I hope you all are as well. So until next time, I've been CMeeCraft, and I will catch you in the next episode. Goodbye.